2D FNAF fan games, something you don't see all too often in the mainstream. A few well-known titles may come to mind. Maybe you think of Playtime with Percy, One Night at Flumpty's, or maybe Too Many Nights pops into your head. However, as of recently, I'm sure there's another very popular 2D FNAF fan game that you can think of. One that's made the rounds in my comment section so much that I can't release any video without getting asked to cover it. Five Nights at Frederick's. I was honestly expecting to not like this game, and no, it's not because it's popular. Do you ever get that feeling where you look at something and you just feel like you're not going to like it? Food is a great example. Sure, I've never tried a Brussels sprout, but I can guarantee you that I'm not going to like it. This is the feeling I had when I first looked at Five Nights at Frederick's, and oh boy, am I ever glad you guys wouldn't shut up about it, because it has easily become one of my favorite FNAF games of all time. Sit the fuck down and listen to me, a 20-year-old, fully grown man, ramble about a game made for children once again. Five Nights at Frederick's is as simple as a FNAF game can get in terms of what is actually going on. Our character's name is Alan Fritter, and we see an ad in the newspaper. Oh great, a new job, let's apply. Frederick's doesn't try to break the mold here. However, don't let that fool you, as there still is a pretty interesting story this game has to tell. Given the fact there's not much exposition to talk about, we instead get to hop right into night one and go over to the office and look at the tools at our disposal. Our office looks very similar to the office from Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Two doors to the right and left of us, some cameras, bada bing bada boom, classic Five Nights at Freddy's. So, why does this game stand out to me and so many others then? Well, I'm glad you asked. Opening up the cameras, we will see the first main gameplay loop Frederick's has to offer. Going to the kitchen cameras, we will see that we're able to make pizzas. This will very quickly become the biggest priority in the entire game, but I'll go into more detail with it when it becomes relevant. But to keep it simple, always make sure you have a pizza cooking. When a pizza is done cooking, you will be able to hear a ding sound cue. That lets you know that you need to start making the next pizza. You'll notice that the doors in your office are replaced by lasers. This is one of the many interesting quirks this game has. Let's go over a few other fun stuff in the office. Occasionally, when you flip up the camera, some things have the chance to change in your office. For example, the main poster can change to have references to other fan games such as Five Newfangled Nights, Five Nights at Frick Bears 3, Not Bear, and Too Many Nights. I think including references to other fan games really helps pull the community together, which I really like. With that out of the way, now we can dive into the threats this night has to offer, starting with this game's Bonnie, or as this game calls him, Bernard das Karnickel. Yes, by the way, each of these characters in this game have been given a German name. If you'd like to know the reason why, tough shit, because even the dev doesn't know why he chose to do this. Bernard acts somewhat similarly to Bonnie, being the character that attacks your doors, except this time around he can attack both instead of just one. A big step up from what he usually does. Frederick's has no lights on the doors, so you'll have to look out for Bernard's fingers to be able to tell that he's there. If he is, use the lasers to shock him and he'll run away. If you don't do so fast enough, he'll step into your office and kind of just stand there, blocking the laser button and just kind of stare at you with his dopey ass face. This is also a good portion of the video to bring up how the power usage in this game works. It's obviously the same as any other game in concept. The more things you're using that waste power, the higher the usage will be, and the higher the usage meter is, the faster your power drains. You'll notice a difference in this game than in a game like Five Nights at Freddy's 1, where in FNAF 1, the moment you stop using something, the usage will instantly decrease, whereas in Frederick's, the power will decrease exponentially. However, this may also just be a visual thing, so maybe I'm just talking stupid right now. This night also introduces Chica, or as this game calls her, Clara das Kuchen. Clara is the reason why cooking the pizzas is so important. Clara will enter the kitchen. If a pizza is not cooking, she'll take charge and start cooking one herself. Except there's something really funny about that. And that's that she literally fucking sucks so bad at cooking you would not believe it. If you let Clara put her pizza into the oven, the building will very quickly start on fire. Very on par for a FNAF game, by the way. When the building is on fire, a brand new mechanic is introduced, the sprinkler system. If your building temperature reaches 120 degrees, none of the electronics in the building will work. That means no cameras and no lasers. This, of course, will result in a death, so you have to use the sprinklers to stop the fire. I honestly think that the sprinkler mechanic is the coolest addition in this entire game. Once you use the sprinklers, the monitor in your office will display how wet the building is. The higher the percentage, the longer it will take for things to activate when used. For example, once you use the sprinklers, it will shoot up to 100%. If you were to then do anything, from trying to start another pizza to using the lasers, you would have to wait around 2 seconds before they would actually activate after pushing them. This doesn't make the game impossible, and this percentage will slowly decrease back down to 0, but this is actually so fucking cool. It's something I don't think I've ever seen before. If you fail a mechanic in the game, instead of just losing, you're given the opportunity to correct yourself. However, it does come at the cost of needing you to react even faster until the wetness goes all the way back down. Yes, it does make the night stressful, but I think it's super cool and once again is my favorite mechanic in the entire game. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. There are actually no post-night minigames in Fredrix, which honestly feels weird to say since I usually spend a pretty decent amount of time in each video talking about them. But since there aren't any, I'm safe to move on to Night 2. God, this game just makes my days so much better. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats. Let's talk about the character you'll recognize more first. Foxy, or as this game calls him, Felix der whatever the fuck, I'm not gonna try to say that. Surprisingly, Felix wasn't given a Foxy-like mechanic. Instead, he almost does the opposite. Kind of. Where in FNAF 1, the more you watch Foxy, the less he moves. Felix is the opposite. The more you watch him, the more he moves. And in much the same way as Foxy. And by that, I mean you don't really have to be looking at him, but rather just have the cameras up. You see, Felix might just be a little bit of an autistic fellow. He really likes this spinning casino wheel. So much so that he will get very upset when it's not spinning. Depending on the difficulty setting, you will have a predetermined number of times that you can flip up the camera before the casino wheel stops spinning. And when it does stop spinning, Felix will haul ass to your office to politely ask you to spin it for him again. He's checking up, he's like, please, turn the wheel back on. I like it when the wheel is on. When he's in your office, he'll block the laser button, preventing you from keeping Bonnie or another character we'll mention later out. To spin the wheel, all you have to do is go back over to the camera and push the spin wheel button, where he will then sprint back out of your office to continue watching it spin. Felix and his mechanics remind me in a way of Clara, a general timer that counts down to an event that will make your run more difficult, and its fix is to just click a button on the camera. Now, you might think that because of that, I'd call this a lazy design, and while technically yes, it is pretty much the same recycled mechanic, I actually think that it makes the gameplay loop more enjoyable. Why? Well, Five Nights at Fredrix gets you into what I like to call a flow state while you are playing. Every single mechanic in this game works together to make the entire experience feel satisfying to play. Most mechanics in this game are reaction-based, which is something I like to think I'm pretty good at. This leads to a very smooth-feeling gameplay loop where yes, it is challenging, however, you almost always feel in control and every single interaction feels solid and responsive. The other threat this night adds is the endoskeleton in the back room, or as this game calls it, Endoskelet. Endoskelet behaves exactly how Bernard does with a small twist. He too will attack either of your 2 doors, but instead of blocking the button like Bernard, Endo will butt bang your power usage and force it to stay completely full until you inevitably die. I personally think that Endo has the weakest mechanic out of this entire game. However, one thing I do appreciate about him is that at least he has the decency to make a sound cue when he arrives at your door, unlike fuck-ass Bernard. Now, you might think this game seems way too easy. You never have to check the cameras until you either A, hear a very distinct sound cue letting you know to bake a pizza, or B, if Felix runs into your office, and usually, I'd agree. Up until this moment, the game is overall pretty easy, but we have yet to introduce a character that will force us to use the cameras and probably make your butthole pucker more than just a few times. So let's move on to Night 3. Night 3 introduces the main attraction himself, Freddy, or of course, as you already know, this game calls Fredrik Fazbear. Fredrik is bolted to the stage, so that may lead you to ask the question, how is he even a fucking threat if he can't leave the stage? Well, you see, there's actually a pretty interesting plot twist here, and that's that the game fucking lied. Friedrich is bolted to the stage, however, that doesn't prevent him from moving at all. He'll jump up to the vent on the ceiling and start pulling his way through towards your office. You'll be able to see him go through 3 distinct phases on the cameras. Once he reaches stage 3, you must use the lasers to shock him, which will then cause him to go back to the stage where he will promptly try again. What this mechanic does so well for the game is force you to look at the cameras, giving Friedrich synergy with Felix. Now, I have to be transparent here. There is a sound cue that plays whenever Friedrich enters a new phase in the camera. However, it's pretty damn quiet, and with how frequently characters will be screaming from being shocked, music playing loud as fuck in your ear, as well as a multitude of other things, it will probably be very common for you to just not hear these sound cues because of how faint they naturally are. Now, of course, if you have God hearing, then checking the cameras is literally only necessary when a pizza needs to be baked, Felix needs the wheel spun, or Friedrich needs a good shock. But I honestly feel like this mechanic really ties the whole gameplay loop together. So, what could the game possibly do to spice the gameplay up from here? Oh, for fuck's sake, the power went out. Oh, fuck you! Fuck you! Hold on. What the fuck? More specifically, just the lights. Yeah, that's right. The gimmick of Night 4 is that the only way you can see is through a flashlight that follows your mouse. The cameras will be dark as well, making it harder to see some of the characters. Let's just take a moment to talk about how fucking genius this mechanic is. The only other FNAF game that I can think of that does this is Showman's, and it was brilliant there as well. Without literally changing anything about the game, you've just made it much more challenging. Especially when it comes to Bernard. Oh my god, Bernard. Bernard is the sole reason this night is even remotely difficult. If you remember from earlier, Bernard doesn't make a sound cue when he's at your door. He's also one of the characters that doesn't have glowing eyes. So this brings up the question, how are you supposed to be able to tell he's at the door if you can't see him? I want you to take a good long look at this image right here. Do you see it? Yeah, that's Bernard's hand. That's all you get to be able to tell if he's there. Obviously, looking at it now, it seems so clear. How could you even miss that? But let me tell you, when you're in a game, focusing on managing all the characters at once, this little detail could very easily end a lot of your runs. And that was totally the intention. And I think that's really cool. Again, making the game harder without drastically changing anything. It's awesome. But if you manage to complete Night 4, an unknown figure will appear in front of you and roar, flinging you to the back of the office where you'll fall into a springlock suit and fucking die. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's what happens. And this leads perfectly into Night 5. Night 5 has you awaken, finding out you're not dead inside the suit. Getting back up, you notice the figure that caused your death was Golden Friedrich, the final boss of this game. Using your new powers from the suit, you fucking punch him in the face and he runs away like a bitch. Get ready, guys. Let's talk about the most frustrating character Five Nights at Friedrich's has to offer, Golden Friedrich. Night 5 is easily my favorite night in the entire game. This is the night that really shows off the flow state you can get into while playing this game, and I'll explain why as we go. To start, let's go over how Golden Friedrich works. Golden Friedrich has 4 means of attacking you. The first attack has him go to either of your doors like Bernard. A noticeable sound cue will play, that being him laughing, which by the way you should get used to because he's going to be doing that a lot throughout this night. Deal with him by using the lasers how you'd expect. The next mechanic has him dive into the vent like Friedrich. Deal with him the same way you would Friedrich, just by using the laser. Now we can talk about the other 2 attack methods that aren't seen anywhere else in the game. The first has him appear in your office. When he does, simply fucking punch him in the face. As you can tell by the look on his face after doing so, he is so incredibly shocked that you would even have the balls to attempt something like that. So insane, so he will quickly leave. The final attack, the most soul-sucking, fuck-ass, bitch-ass mechanic. I want you guys to take a guess what he could possibly do. That's right! My least favorite fucking FNAF mechanic ever designed! Teleporting to a random camera and having to search for which one he fucking went to and stare at him until he goes away. Friedrichs, you were doing so well. Why'd you have to do this to me? Why'd you have to bend me over and just fuck me right up the ass? Why? Why add this mechanic and blow up my internal organs like the goddamn 4th of July? I'm basically holding your fucking prison wallet. Go find him on the cameras. How about you go find my nuts? But hey, at least the rest of the night is pretty cool. Unlike most boss fight nights from FNAF games, this night doesn't make the boss the only threat throughout. However, this night will slowly reintroduce the characters you've been going up against as the night progresses every hour. 1 a.m., Bernard and Endoskelet reappear. Night 2, Chica and Felix reappear. 3 a.m., Freddy appears. And finally at 4 a.m., your lights go out once more. And at 5 a.m., the building starts on fire, forcing you to use the sprinklers. And from there, it's just a crazy survival game until the final 6 a.m. This night is honestly some of the most fun I've had with a FNAF game. Slowly reintroducing each mechanic throughout the night just made the whole experience slowly feel like it was getting harder and harder, which, to be fair, it was. 100% go try this game out. You will not regret it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that throughout this night, you've been able to see this memory wipe meter slowly fill up. Well, at the end of the night, it completes, and the character we've been playing as so far seemingly finally dies. Golden Friedrich laughs at the corpse, and that's when we're shot back to the menu to see that there is a night 6. But if we're dead, how is that even going to work? Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the second main character of this game, Ella Vanilla. Ella is who we play as on night 6. She discovers a job flyer in the local newspaper and decides that it'd be a great idea to become the new night guard at Friedrichs. Entering the office for the final night, we're greeted to, oh my fucking god, there's Alan right there. That's right. On top of everything we've seen so far, our previous protagonist becomes an antagonist on this night, and he's pretty damn aggressive as well. Now being called Fritterfalle, he acts as an additional threat to make night 6 a pain in the dick. His mechanic is simple, basically being a music box, something I wasn't super thrilled about when I first saw it, but overall ends up not really feeling like one, even though that's literally all it is. Throughout this night, Fritterfalle will attempt to get up and murk your ass. In order to sedate him, all you have to do is hold his nose. According to the lore, the owners of this restaurant actually tell the technicians to do this to Fritter because they know how much of a threat he is. Yet for some reason, they refuse to throw his ass out. But with that, that's all the main game of Five Nights at Friedrichs has to offer. Let's fucking go! Woo! Woo! 217. Ella Vanilla. Fuck yeah, we got SpongeBob over there. Is that Gustavo Fring up here? But, as I'm sure you can tell by looking at the timeline of this video, I still have more I want to talk about. That being the story, and my favorite thing about any game ever, post-game. Let's start with the story. You may think that this game doesn't really have anything else besides what we've already covered with Alan and Ella, but there actually is a little bit more to dissect. I want to first thank commenters such as Lex Gauntly and Redman. If it weren't for comments like these on my Tales of the Bunnyman video, I probably wouldn't feel as confident talking about the story, as it is something I don't like doing because I don't feel like I can do it as much justice as it deserves. I also really want to thank City, the owner of the FNAF Game Wiki, for reaching out to me on Discord to tell me about certain things and clarify any questions I have when researching these videos. Let's start by getting something out of the way. Friedrichs Pizza is not a chain restaurant like Freddy Fazbear's, instead just being a standalone restaurant. The animatronics used to be kept in a location known only as F-NJ02. What the hell does that mean? I have no fucking idea. But at some point, these characters were transferred to another location known as F-PA09, which is the restaurant we see in the game. Throughout the game, you learn how to deal with the threats through the pages of the service manual on your desk. Turning over these pages will slowly tell a very disturbing story. They reveal that each animatronic were noted to have unknown human remains making up a majority of their body. Friedrich has human teeth and eyes, Clara has human arms, Bernard is literally just an amalgamation of human mush, Felix has human eyes, and Endo has human veins and teeth. On Flinguary, yes, by the way, the months are named differently in this game, 29th, 2009, Alan Fritter takes the job at Friedrich's after standing outside the building and slapping the window until he was hired. The reason he wanted the job? I have no fucking idea, and it's not clear in the game either, so just accept it. However, it is clear that the animatronics remember him from past events and are intent on killing him. Throughout the night, you are supposed to be taught the mechanics through the manual on your desk. However, the pages of said manual have been ripped out, crumpled, and scribbled on by presumably previous employees. These scribbles are mocking the animatronics, which I get the funny feeling pisses them off a little bit, and it's confirmed that the characters enjoy killing the guards at the establishment. It's confirmed that Clara made her first successful pizza using Alan's body parts. Bernard used his arms as a back scratcher. Friedrich used his fucking veins as dental floss, which is insane. And Endoskelet used his remains as a suit. As far as I could tell, Felix is the only one who didn't do something fucked with the corpse. Obviously, at the end of the week, Alan gets that Soulja Boy cranked on him by Golden Friedrich and is stuffed inside a spare suit. His memory is wiped, and instead of disposing of the corpse in their restaurant, the owners instead instructed the technicians to use him for testing. Okay, maybe I'm too level-headed, but this seems like a very stupid idea that would get OSHA on your ass in about 4 seconds flat. Of course, Ella Vanilla later takes his position, and we play as her in Night 6. It's clear that Alan still somewhat has a presence inside of the suit, obviously because he can attack you while playing as Ella, but also because through the extras menu, we learn that he responds to Ella's comments through the collectibles menu, and at one point even entrusts her with holding an unstated item appearing as some weird looking snapped object. But really, after this, the story is either unclear or not canon. So as far as I'm aware, that's everything, and Five Nights at Friedrich's truly comes to a close. Overall, I think Five Nights at Friedrich's is one of the most fun FNAF experiences I've ever had. The game is goofy, the story is simple and silly, and the game mechanics are some of the most solid and fun to play I've ever seen. The amount of post-game in the extras menu is also more than I've seen in many other FNAF games, and I definitely recommend you give it a try.
Do you remember FNAF World, the RPG by Scott Cawthon after the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 4? Back when we all thought the franchise would be over. Of course you do. It was probably one of the most controversial games he's ever made. Now, how about the FNAF RPG that came before it? Do you remember that? Do you remember the Five Nights at Freddy's fan game that broke the classic FNAF formula and decided to do something completely unique and never seen before? A game that turned the target audience for FNAF completely on its head, with more vulgarities in a single 3-hour game than your drunk stepdad. I'm sure a light bulb is going off in some of your heads already, but for those of you who don't follow, or for those of you who are too young to remember the early days of Five Nights at Freddy's, the game I'm talking about is Five Nights at Fuckboys, a FNAF RPG created by Sable Lynn and Joshua Shaw back in November of 2014. For all of you that remember, I'm going to take you on a stroll down memory lane as we dive back into the world of Five Nights at Fuckboys. Since the franchise has been released, there has been an updated version created by Zane. The update greatly fixes a lot of problems that the originals had, such as the sound effects not being louder than an atomic bomb, and much needed difficulty balancing. This video will only be covering the first game in the series, but note that there are more games, and if you like this video and are interested in hearing me talking about the other ones, definitely let me know in the comments below. Before we begin, I'd like to say thank you all so much for the support on my last video. Within 4 days of that video being posted, it passed 1,000 views, which is absolutely crazy, and I honestly can't thank you all enough. Roar the Rapper corrected me on the comment I made about taking shifts in my last video, and that gave me a fun idea. I think it'd be fun to ask you guys a question at the end of the video, and show my favorite answer at the beginning of the next video, so stick around to the end of the video if you'd like to participate. Without further ado, let's get into the video. In Five Nights at Fuckboys, we play as Freddy. We start on the show stage in the original game's location. We can move around the pizzeria freely and explore wherever we'd like. Even though this game is pretty linear in terms of progression, I really like that no location is blocked off until we make progress, aside from the office, which is only unlocked at the end of the game, but that's for good reason. The goal of this game is to get into the office, presumably to kill the security guard, just like the animatronics from the original. However, if you just try to go to the office right away, the security guard will see you coming because of the cameras and shut the door on you, but not before Freddy says this amazing line.
I want you inside of me.
And they say chivalry is dead. Ladies, this is what a real man should be saying to you. That was a joke, by the way. So, since it's clear that the security guard can see us coming, what would the logical choice be? Do we wait outside of his door so that the power runs out? No, of course not. That'd make too much sense. What we do instead is beat the shit out of all the cameras so that he can't see us. Alright, cool. A new objective. There are multiple cameras around the pizzeria, just like the original, but we really have to be careful as each of these cameras act as a boss. You can tell which cameras are more difficult than others because before you choose to fight them, you can see their difficulty listed at the top of the screen, which I think is a really nice addition. But before I can dive into the boss fights, we have to talk about how this game actually plays. As I said, this is an RPG, so there is a lot of turn-based fighting. But try your best not to let that turn you off from giving this game a try. As you walk around the pizzeria, randomly you will enter fights with party hats. There are multiple types of party hats: alpha hats, beta hats, gamma hats, and omega hats. Each listed is more difficult than the last, each having more health, damage, and skills as the last. The area of the pizzeria that you're in dictates which type of party hat you will find. This is a small way of letting you know which area you should be going to. If you're used to fighting alpha hats, which are the weakest, and you wander into an area that has omega hats, which are the strongest, that's a pretty good sign that you probably shouldn't be over there yet. That's what I mean when I say that the game can be pretty linear progression-wise. However, I really like that even though in that situation there's no way you'd be beating an omega party hat, you still have the option to venture over there, something which I wish modern RPGs would do. Beating party hats, or any enemies, will give you XP and tokens, an in-game currency you can use to buy items. At the start of the game, you can buy items from the vending machine in the dining area. The vending machine sells really shitty items, but shopping from here will be pretty necessary for the early moments of the game. When I first went into this game, I told myself I wouldn't use items in battle. I was thinking of this game like Pokemon. In Pokemon, I hate using items in battle, so I thought I could do that here too. Let me tell you, you will need to use items in battle, as this game is most likely impossible without them. However, unlike Pokemon, where using items in battle makes the game incredibly easy, even with items in battle in Five Nights at Fuckboys, you'll still probably find yourself struggling from time to time. I think if you want to say you don't want to use items in battle for a challenge, don't use pizzas or cakes. Pizzas heal health and cakes revive party members. A character you get later in the game can do both of these things with a special ability, so using them, while doing the same thing, can't be spammed as much as the items can. In battle, I liked to use just the soda as an item, since I felt it didn't make every fight super easy. Soda just increases your party members' SP, which stands for special points. Don't worry, I'll get into all that later. I suppose I should probably talk about how the battling works. As you enter a battle, for each character in your party, you get to select one of 4 options: Scream, Skills, Guard, and Item. Scream is just a basic attack that costs you nothing. Skills will allow you to use one of your skills. Each character will gain a maximum of 5. Every character starts with Scan, an ability that costs nothing and doesn't even waste a turn. It allows you to see the health of a target enemy and anything special that the enemy does. I mainly only ever used this for bosses, since a lot of them have cheats to make them more difficult. I'll get into that later. Guard will make that party member guard for the turn. It costs nothing and makes the character's defense increase massively for the turn. And Item allows a character to choose an item you have in your inventory and target another party member or itself with it. After all of your party members have selected what they will do, based on your party members' speed stats and the speed stat of your enemies, each entity in the fight will perform the action they chose. After every action has been taken, the cycle repeats. It continues to repeat until either you defeat all the enemies or the enemies defeat your entire party. With the basics explained, we can get into the meat of the game. Just from walking around, you'll be able to find the other animatronics, Bonnie, Foxy, and Chica. Well, you can't see Chica because she's in the kitchen and the kitchen is locked. The kitchen and the office are the only two rooms you can't enter immediately. So, trying to use just Freddy to progress is not fun and is very frustrating and tedious, so your best course of action is to add the other characters to your party to help out. Walking into the back room, you'll find Bonnie. Upon talking to him, he tells you he's missing his face, and he wants you to find it for him. We'll get back to Bonnie later as he's the last member you'll add to your party. In the back room, you also see this party hat. These party hats act as mini-bosses in the game, and you can find them in various areas of the game. Once you beat any of them, which can be a pretty hard challenge, especially the first one, Balloon Boy will appear. Balloon Boy acts as the shopkeeper in this game. Once you unlock the first Balloon Boy, you will never have to go back to the vending machine again. Balloon Boy, along with selling pizzas, sodas, and cakes, also sells helpful items, such as better versions of weapons for each character, armor, and accessories. Each increases a specific stat for your party members. Each time you unlock a Balloon Boy, the items he sells gets better and better, giving you a clear incentive to fight these mini-bosses. I really like how simple his shop is. It's very straightforward with what you should buy, and you won't find yourself sitting in the shop for long periods of time trying to figure out the best way to build your party. But in order to beef up our party, we actually need to fill it first. We know we can't get to Chica yet because she's locked in the kitchen, so that means we have to get Foxy first. Walking into Pirate's Cove, we see Foxy behind the curtain. I'm not going to say what he's doing in there, but I'm sure you can read. At this point, if you walk back into the main room, you can find a lighter in a box. Taking the lighter and going back into Pirate's Cove, Freddy attempts to burn it down, but before he can do that, Balloon Boy steals the lighter from Freddy and forces you to buy it from him. There's literally no purpose behind this besides to show you how annoying Balloon Boy is. After you buy the lighter back from Balloon Fuck, you can actually burn down Pirate's Cove. Doing so forces Foxy to join your party. At this point, if you enter the bathroom, you can find a key. While you're in here, you might think to enter the actual bathrooms. You can enter the men's room just fine, but upon trying to enter the women's room, Freddy won't because he's a man. We'll have to come back later with a female character. Speaking of, with this key, we can unlock the kitchen. Upon doing so, Chica joins our party. With Chica, we'll be able to get into the women's bathroom. Inside, there's a chest with a voucher inside. There's also a party hat mini-boss. After beating it and unlocking the bathroom Balloon Boy, talking to him lets you exchange the voucher for Bonnie's face. Going back to the back room, you give Bonnie his face back and he joins your party. Congrats! You now have the entire party of characters with you. Now's probably a good time to talk about each character's skills. Every 5 levels, a character will unlock a new one, with a maximum of level 20 and 4 total unlocked skills. Freddy's level 5 skill is Top Hat Toss. It costs SP or special points, and the amount it costs depends on Freddy's level. This is the same for most abilities in the game, spanning across all characters. The higher the level, the more it costs. Top Hat Toss deals large damage to an enemy and hits twice. His level 10 ability is Lead Stinger. It deals damage once and deals more damage if the target enemy is poisoned. There are several buffs and debuffs in this game, and poison is one of them. This move also has a small chance to inflict poison upon dealing damage. The poison debuff will cause the inflicted entity to take damage at the end of the turn. Freddy's level 15 skill is Toreador March, a skill that hits several times. Each hit deals a very small amount of damage, but it leaves the targeted enemy with a large chance of being put to sleep, which is another debuff. Entities with sleep will be unable to perform any actions until they wake up. Freddy's level 20 ability is Death Inhale. This ability can only be used once per battle and costs 100 TP. TP stands for Technique Points, and a character gains them by being damaged by enemies. 100 is the maximum amount a character can have, and every battle starts each party member with 0, so getting any character to 100 TP can prove to be a challenge. Death Inhale will do an enormous amount of damage to a targeted enemy and hit them multiple times. Foxy's level 5 ability is Plank Walk, an ability that deals a large amount of damage and has a chance to paralyze the targeted enemy. Paralyzed entities have a chance to not be able to perform actions. The chance of causing paralysis increases with the more TP Foxy has. Foxy's level 10 ability is Rushdown. When used, Foxy will hit the enemy several times with pretty high damage on each hit. Foxy's level 15 ability is Speed Share, an ability that just increases all party members' speed. And his level 20 ability is Sea Shanty, an ability that greatly decreases the targeted enemy's attack and defense, and has a chance to inflict silence, which is another debuff. Entities with silence will be unable to use their skills. Chica's level 5 ability is Pizza Pass, an ability that heals a target party member a great amount of health, by far her best ability. Her level 10 ability is Fearless Flight. It deals a pretty shitty amount of damage to a target enemy, but any buffs that enemy had get removed, so that's really nice. Chica's level 15 ability is Caffeine Revival. It does exactly what you think it does. Revives a dead party member. I never found myself using this much since enemies tended to hit all party members rather than just focusing on one, which is really nice. Chica's level 20 ability is Mama Bird. It increases a target party member's defense and increases their SP by 50%. Because I tended to use sodas a lot in battle, I never found myself using this ability very often. And finally, we have Bonnie, the character who I honestly found the most useless in battle. It's very clear he's supposed to be a general support, just like Chica is a healing support, but he kind of does it in a way that you almost never use him. I usually ended up using Bonnie as the character who used items, but his level 5 ability is Bunny Hop, which hits a target enemy multiple times and has a small chance to lower their defense, and I do mean a small chance. His level 10 ability is Riff Wave, by far the ability I had him use the most. It deals a large amount of damage to a target enemy and has a medium chance to inflict poison. The poison is the main reason I used this ability, just so Freddy's ability would deal more damage. Bonnie's level 15 ability is Backup Bash. It deals a lot of damage and has a medium chance to decrease the targeted enemy's attack. This ability actually deals more damage depending on how many party members are dead, but since you probably won't have members dead all too often, and the fact that Freddy and mainly Foxy are your two main hitters, you will almost never use this ability unless you're specifically trying to decrease enemy damage. And finally, his level 20 ability is Motivation Jam, in my opinion, his best ability. It greatly increases the defense and attack of a targeted party member for about 4 turns. Super helpful when paired with Foxy or Freddy when he uses Death Inhale. Wow, that took longer than I thought it would. I apologize, let's continue. Again, in order to get to the office, we have to knock out all the cameras. The first camera I recommend beating is the show stage camera, as it has no cheats. Just beat it normally, and you're on to the next one. The dining room camera is what I suggest you do next. It and every other camera from this point forward will have a cheat to make their fight more difficult. This one will drain your SP every turn. With how early in the game you'll fight this camera, this cheat is devastating. The back room camera will get stronger and stronger each turn, so the longer you spend trying to kill it, the more and more damage it will do to your party members. The West Hall camera is one of the worst. Every turn it will heal around 500 health. Considering where you are at the time, that can be 70 to 80% of your damage output each turn, making this fight take way longer than it needs to. Pack plenty of soda for this one. The East Hall camera's cheat really isn't a problem. Like the dining room camera, instead of draining your SP, it drains your TP instead. At this point in the game, you probably won't find yourself relying on TP yet, unless you like to spam Foxy's Plank Walk ability, which you should really be using Rushdown for Foxy anyway, since it's just better in most cases. The bathroom camera can cause a real problem if you're not prepared. Your entire party is inflicted with poison the entire fight, and there's no way to get rid of it. Depending on when you decide to fight this camera, this can be a real run killer. Pirate's Cove camera has a speed so high that the only character in your party that will perform their action before it is Foxy. Highly recommend using Foxy's speed share ability during this fight. After doing that, it should be a cakewalk. The supply closet camera is by far the easiest, considering you're fighting them in the correct order, which is the order that I'm telling you to fight them in. The camera will literally heal your party. I have No idea why it does this, but it does. The East Hall corner camera isn't the worst, considering I fought some of the other optional mini-bosses before this. That might be the reason I feel this way. I'll get into those optional mini-bosses after these cameras. This camera will perform 2 actions per turn rather than 1. I could imagine that if I didn't beat the optional mini-bosses, that this fight and the next would have been much more difficult. The West Hall corner camera is probably the last one you should fight, mainly because of its health and damage output. But its cheat is super important to note. It is immune to all debuffs, which means it can't be paralyzed, poisoned, silenced, or put to sleep. This will greatly change how you go about fighting it, since, at least through my playthrough, I put a huge emphasis on poisoning my enemies. After beating the final camera, the power to the pizzeria will go out and you'll be able to enter the office for the final battle. But before I talk about that, there's a few things that happen before you fight the final camera that we need to talk about. I'll start with the optional mini-bosses I was talking about earlier. Once you max a character to level 20, their toy variant will appear on the map somewhere. Challenging them and beating them will give you the best version of said character's weapon. I fought them in order of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, then Mangle. I do not recommend you beat them in that order, as some of them are much more difficult than others. I recommend you start with Toy Freddy, then Mangle, then Toy Bonnie, and ending with Toy Chica. Toy Chica was surprisingly the most difficult out of all of them. She was able to hit all of my party members multiple times in a single turn for huge damage, easily having all of their health. This is one of the only fights where I felt like I needed to use healing items in battle because she would not stop fingering me in the asshole. There's also an optional boss you can fight. Well, it's optional to beat, mandatory to fight, that being the puppet. The wiki says the puppet spawns after beating your second camera, but I swear I beat at least 4 cameras before he spawned. Maybe that's because I was playing the complete collection instead of the original though. Either way, once the puppet spawns, a timer will appear in the top corner of your screen. When it runs out, you have to fight the puppet. You don't have to beat him to progress, but there's no reason not to since he gives a large amount of XP. In the complete collection, there's no way to reset this timer, and it will continue to count down even during fights. In my playthrough, it ran out while I was fighting Toy Freddy, and Toy Freddy had killed Chica. I had no way to revive her going into the puppet's fight, and that definitely made it much more difficult and tense since Chica is almost mandatory to beat any fight because she's the one that will be healing and reviving your characters. After beating the puppet, you can go into the bathroom and have an optional fight with the marionette, a more difficult version of the puppet. I didn't do this fight because I didn't know if it would be harder than the office fight. Considering finishing the office fight ends the game, I'm gonna have to assume that the marionette is not more difficult, but again, I never fought it. After doing these optional fights that you should definitely do if you don't want to get butt banged in the final fight, you can head down to the office and go inside. Upon entering, you're greeted by Golden Freddy, who's pissed that you didn't invite him to join the fun you've been having throughout the night. Golden Freddy is Five Nights at Fuckboy's final boss. He is the only boss in the game to have multiple other enemies you have to fight along with him. Alongside Golden Freddy, you also have to fight 4 Omega Party Hats, which, if you remember, are the most difficult party hat in the game. They're not too much of an issue, but I definitely recommend you take them out before you start targeting Golden Freddy, as their attacks can rack up a large amount of damage if left unanswered. As I said before, after beating Golden Freddy, the game ends. Golden Freddy screams, for no joke, 5 nights straight because he's a little pissy poop baby. Overall, I think Five Nights at Fuckboys is a great experience. However, I have one major problem with the game, that being the first early bit of the game before you can unlock Foxy. Playing with only an underleveled Freddy is so unfun, as you will pretty much be bodied by 90% of the enemies you fight, and God forbid you have to fight more than one enemy at a time. This early section alone will take up a big amount of your playthrough, as you'll find yourself having to grind for quite a long time to even be a little bit of a threat to the enemies. However, once you start collecting party members, the game gets much more enjoyable, as the only time I ever found myself grinding after getting party members was to get more tokens to buy upgrades at the shop. And even when I had to grind for tokens, I didn't have to grind for more than 5 minutes to get what I needed. So if you push through the early game, 90% of the game is a super fun and fluent experience. I should also mention that this game has multiple difficulties you can play on. I played on the easiest difficulty since the harder difficulties get super unfair, but if you're a true gamer, I recommend trying out the harder difficulties. When it comes to any form of media, whether that be games, movies, or TV shows, I usually tend to stay away from sequels, since most of the time they can never live up to their previous title. But of course, every once in a while something proves me wrong. I never thought I'd be covering a sequel on this channel, since I thought people would think a series-like format would be annoying, but given how much you all liked the last one, and how many people asked me to cover the second game, I welcome you to sit back, relax, and listen to a grown man talk about Five Nights at Fuckboys 2. Before we begin, in the last video, I asked you guys what your favorite RPG Maker horror game was and why. My favorite answer was this one by Darth Plague is the Universe. They chose The Crooked Man, and I love that game. I actually have a video about it coming out on Dxtr Black soon. For those of you that don't know, Dxtr Black is my second channel where I do full playthroughs of games. If you want more content from me while waiting for a white video, that's the place to go. But I totally agree. The story in The Crooked Man is so dreadful and depressing, yet still covers those topics in a respectful and realistic way. If you want a chance to get your comment in the beginning of a video, stick around to the end when I ask another question. Without further ado, let's get to the video. Five Nights at Fuckboys 2 starts similarly to the last. You're just thrown into the game with the goal of having a night of debauchery. In order to do so, we have to knock out all the cameras. This time, we play as Toy Freddy, and we will gain the help of the toy animatronics. In addition, if it wasn't obvious, we're also in the FNAF 2 pizzeria. Since we're in the second pizzeria, it's obviously much larger than the last, meaning we'll have many more cameras to knock out than in the original. Heading down to the office, you'll find that there's no security guard, and for some unknown reason, there's also a camera and a mirror on the desk. Moving into the right vent, we find Toy Bonnie, stuck like your stepsister. He asks us to help him by pushing him out, but Toy Freddy doesn't want to touch his ass. That made me think to go around and push him from the other side, but when you try, this happens. Wait, hold on, we'll come from this side.
Yes.
I have strong feelings that are telling me not to go into the vent from the side. I have strong feelings that are telling me...
Why? So it looks like we'll have to find another way to get him out if we want him to help. Going into the bathroom, we find a stick. Using this stick, we can poke Toy Bonnie very fucking slowly to get him out of the vent and join our party. We poke Bonnie in the ass with the stick.
Freddy, please.
Fine, I'm not touching your ass though. Engage the stick, motherfucker.
Oh my god, you're joking. Bro.
Yes. Yes.
Toy Bonnie has joined the party. Alright. Since I'm covering the second game here, I'll throw in that I won't be going into deep detail about things that are the same from the first. For example, there are party hats around the establishment, in which upon beating, Balloon Boy will spawn and sell us things. This is the same system as in the first game, and since I've already covered the first game and these similarities, I don't see it necessary to cover them again. If you're confused, then I suggest watching my other Five Nights at Fuckboys video. With Toy Bonnie and her party, it will become much easier to defeat the enemies around the pizzeria. In the last game, we only had party hats, but this game adds way more enemies. None are very unique, so I won't really be going over them. The only interesting one that I saw is this thing that spawns in the office. I'd ask if the creators were high when they made this game, but I already know the answer is probably yes. Heading into Kids Cove, we find Mangle, who asks us to get her a sex toy. Alright. Now, at this point, I was stuck and had no idea what to do, so I ended up beating some party hats and a few of the cameras, forgetting that beating multiple cameras will make the puppet spawn, and I promptly got my ass kicked by it. While randomly fighting enemies, specifically a party popper, a sex toy voucher is dropped. I should mention that after Mangle asked for it, Balloon Boy said that an enemy would probably drop it. Even though I read this out loud, which you can see in my playthrough of this game on the second channel, Dxtr Black.
Please buy me an esoteric sex toy.
No.
But I need it.
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 Fine, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm sick of your shit already.
Freddy, you shithead enemies probably drop what you're looking for. Enemies are gonna drop a sex toy? I guess I decided to just fucking ignore it. Either way, we can give the voucher to Balloon Boy, who will give us the real thing. Now we can give it to Mangle. Upon giving it to Mangle, Withered Foxy sprints at Mach 12 into the room and steals the toy before running off. I hate life. We go find him in one of the party rooms, and I promptly get my ass kicked by him. I want to die. I should mention that when I play games, I hate using wikis and looking up answers, and only do so when I'm actually stuck and can't figure something out. So, instead of doing what I should have done, I grinded for no joke over an hour, and then beat Withered Foxy to get the sex toy and have Mangle join my party. Then use Mangle to get into the bathroom where Toy Chica is. While writing this script, I found out that you can just keep trying to enter the women's bathroom until Toy Freddy eventually just does. Had I had read the wiki, I would have done this, but again, I don't like doing that. So as I said, I beat Withered Foxy and got the toy back and gave it to Mangle, who joined the party. Now, with a female in our party, I entered the women's restroom to find Toy Chica. Toy Freddy then said the most relatable thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, there she is. Bad bitch.
Freddy the kids flushed my cupcakes.
Hot.
Chica tells us that some kids flushed her cupcakes down the toilet and asks Freddy to go get them for her. Freddy says no, so Chica forces him in the toilet anyways. With Freddy literally in the toilet, we get to play an epic minigame. Five Nights at Fuckboy's Salmon Location. In this minigame, you have to fish in the toilet and find different rarities of items. Upon reeling in these items, you will get points based off of the rarities. Once you reach 10, the minigame ends, but not before we're forced to fight Toy Freddy's ex-girlfriend. The title says this game is great, not that it makes sense. After beating her, we return Chica's cupcakes to her and she joins our party. Now that we have a full party, I should probably go over each character's skills. I'll be honest, I really didn't like the section in my last video where I went over each skill for each character. I felt like it made the video lazy, so I won't be doing that in this video. I will, however, quickly go over each camera and their special abilities. In the last video, I gave them an order I thought you should beat them in, but knowing what I know now, that order is objectively wrong, so I won't be giving an order this time. The show stage camera has a difficulty of 1 with 4,000 health and has 2 streamers fighting alongside it. I definitely recommend always taking out the smaller enemies first, as their damage can rack up a lot over time if left unanswered. The game room camera has a difficulty of 1 with 5,000 health. At the start of this fight, this camera will spawn 2 more of itself for some reason, not sure why, but it can be a pain in the ass if fought early. Definitely get Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica before doing most of these camera fights. The prize corner camera has a difficulty of 1 with 6,000 health. This one has a triple attack, so watch out for that. I say watch out like you can fucking do anything about which attack it chooses. You can't unless you paralyze it with Mangle, which is what you should really be using her for, by the way. The main hall camera has a difficulty of 2 with 7,000 health. This camera has an attack that can poison you, so if you're not against using items, I'd bring some presents with you. The parts and service camera has a difficulty of 12 with 8,000 health. This camera does something super epic. As the fight goes on, it will spawn plushies of the main animatronics. These plushies can easily take out your party if you're not prepared. The Party Room 3 camera has a difficulty of 3 with 9,000 health. This camera can also poison and confuse your party, so be prepared to have members of your party beat the shit out of other members with little to nothing you can do about it unless you use items or skills. The Party Room 4 camera has a difficulty of 3 with 10,000 health. Want to guess what this one can do? If you guessed that it could poison and confuse you, you'd be right. It's ass. On top of that, it's just like the bathroom camera from the first game because you're poisoned the whole time and there's nothing you can do about it. The Party Room 1 camera has a difficulty of 2, but has more health than the last 2 Party Room cameras, yet still has a difficulty lower than them. Don't ask. It has 11,000 health, can poison and confuse you, as well as having an attack that can hit every member in your party at the same time. RPGs are awesome, what can I say? The Party Room 2 camera has a difficulty of 3 with 12,000 health. It can poison you, confuse you, hit all of you, and fucking heal itself. Hahaha, I love everything. The Kids Cove camera has a difficulty of 3 with 13,000 health and does the same thing as the last one. Left vent camera has 20,000 health and the right vent has 30,000 health. Epic, let's get to the interesting one. The final camera is the office camera. After you get its health down to halfway, this happens.
Yes, sir. Oh, fuck. Some don't seem right. Some don't seem right. It won't let me select the second one. Whoa, and let me hit exit. Ooh. Oh shit. What the fuck? Oh my god, it's camera Goku!
Yep, it pulls some Matrix type shit, sends you to a fake menu, then when you re-enter, the camera is fucking Goku. Crack. It must have been crack the creators were on. After beating camera Goku, the lights to the building turn red, and Balloon Boy explains that he's been watching us from the cameras the whole time. We get kicked out of the office and are told that if we want to live, we need to enter the office. But before we do that, let's talk about the one thing I've failed to talk about so far, the withered animatronics. Just like in the first game, when you max out a character, its withered variant will appear for you to fight, but this time, when you beat them, they will be added to your party. Wow! 8 characters to use at once? You say while urinating and defecating in excitement. No, not quite. You can still only use 4 characters in battle at a time, but you can now swap them out mid-fight and in the overworld. Except Toy Freddy. You have to use Toy Freddy. There's nothing you can do about that. I think it's fucking annoying, but I understand why considering he's the one that interacts with everything. But still, I didn't want to use Toy Freddy. I didn't really like Toy Freddy. But you know, whatever, I guess. If you were wondering, the skills of the withered animatronics are the same as the characters from the original, which I actually think is a very simple but nice touch. Just like in the last game, after beating or losing to the puppet, you can challenge it again for a second, more difficult fight. Unlike last time, this time I actually fought it. When you do and beat it, you'll get the real weapons, which gave the toys a serious damage increase. I should also mention that these tapes have been around the pizzeria. Upon collecting them all, Tupac spawns? What the fuck? Tupac is one of the secret bosses in this game, and the only one I defeated. Again, I don't look at wikis, so I never know about things like this. I was lucky that I found this one. After beating Tupac, Toy Freddy becomes a rap god, and all of his stats become boosted. If, when you collect the final tape, you have at least 420 tokens, you'll fight Snoop Dogg instead of Tupac. He's more difficult and will still make Toy Freddy a rap god after beating him. It's little details like these in games that I really like. With that out of the way, it's time to tackle Balloon Boy. Going back into the office, Balloon Boy jumps into the mirror that was on the desk, and we follow after him. We enter this weird-looking dimension. I have no idea what it is, but whatever, I guess. As we walk around this new area, the stick we got from the bathroom turns into the dragon dildo from the first game, something I failed to mention in my original video. Would you believe me if I told you that in my playthrough, even after getting this really good weapon, I didn't equip it? Because for some reason, I didn't, and I still don't know why. Regardless, we eventually find Balloon Boy and enter his fight. As you enter this fight, you'll see that you can only control Toy Freddy, making this fight seem like it's going to be impossible. But as the fight goes on, the other toys will slowly rejoin the party. When I first played this, I got really nervous when I only saw Freddy. After beating Balloon Boy, which, trust me, isn't super easy, we get transported to this crazy Balloon Boy dimension, which is really, really hard to look at. It's at this point that the withered animatronics rejoin our party as well. After everyone re-enters the party, it's time to find Balloon Boy and fight him the final time. When I say this fight made me want to piss out a cactus, I'm not lying. Throughout this fight, Balloon Boy will spawn empty Balloon Boy heads with the weapons of the 4 main characters, which are really ass to fight in and of themselves, but even if you aggro them and kill them before going back to Balloon Boy, like I did, you'll find that after a few rounds pass, Balloon Boy will respawn the ones you killed, so I ended up just ignoring them and aggroing Balloon Boy. After, no joke, a 15-minute fight with this bozo, we finally kill him, and get this very nice anime outro. And Five Nights at Fuckboys 2 comes to an end. I really love this game. I think it's a super faithful sequel to the original, and while I don't quite like it as much as the first, that doesn't mean I think it's bad. I think this game is amazing. There's much more content, and it's just as funny, if not funnier, than the first. If you've played the first game and liked it, and haven't given this one a try, I highly recommend you do. You will not regret it.
Bad fan games. Love them or hate them, you have to admit they can be pretty funny at times. Maybe you'll like them because of the bad grammar, bad art, bad storytelling, bad voice acting, or just overall bad design. Well, if you're interested in that, rest assured the fan game we'll be covering today has a bit of all of those components, and I'm excited to share them with you. The game in question is Mario, an animatronic horror. Made by two devs, it serves to be one of the most atrocious fan games ever designed, but it is, in all honesty, one of my favorites. I should note that this game is technically not possible to obtain legitimately and can only be found through websites like the Wayback Machine. This is because Nintendo is the most greedy, grubby company to ever cross this plane of existence. They DMCA'd this game for copyright infringement because it used their characters. So keep in mind, that means that what we're going to see is legally canonical. So enjoy that information as we go along. With that being said, let's jump into Mario and animatronic horror. If you're at all familiar with RPG Maker horror games, then a game called Mario the Music Box might ring a few bells to you. Another RPG Maker horror game that uses Mario that is actually pretty good. Let me know if you'd like me to cover it sometime in the future. Mario and animatronic horror was actually directly inspired by Mario the Music Box, and it definitely shows. However, as I already mentioned, Mario the Music Box is good. In this game, well, starting the game, we're met to an anime opening for the game. This is where we first notice that the 3D animations in this game are actually surprisingly pretty solid, and are definitely the best parts of these games. But that's immediately downplayed when you use your ears and notice that the opening music is Panic at the Disco, which they also decided to name incorrectly in the credits, saying Panic on the Disco instead. Panic at the Disco? What is this anime opening? What am I watching? After that masterpiece of an opening finished, we're forced to remember that this is, in fact, a horror game, and we're greeted to an opening cutscene. Mario states that he has voices in his head, canonically revealing that Mario is a schizo. Because of these voices, he decides to get a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Why does he choose this? I have no fucking idea. And with that, we're tossed right into night one. Mario walks into the pizzeria and has an amazing reaction to the animatronics on stage.
Mamma mia, those things are terrifying.
I love the dialogue in this game. If you ever play it yourself, you'll notice that what the voice actors say and what you see in the text boxes on screen almost never match at all. But if you don't feel like playing the game yourself, I totally understand. You can watch my full playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Mario heads back to the office and receives a phone call from Phone Guy. You may think these phone calls will be important, but you'd be completely wrong. These phone calls are basically just the calls from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, except for some reason they didn't want to use the actual audio from the game, so instead they opted to hire a voice actor to read it, and I guess they also didn't just copy and paste the script from the game, but appeared to try their best to rewrite what was said from memory. I'm not sure what the thought process was here.
Hello? Hello, and welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Magical place where grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun can come to life.
In this office is also where I found that this specific tile on the wall had no hitbox, so that's pretty cool. Okay. After the call, Mario is understandably scared from being told that animatronics would try to butt bang him and stuff him in a suit. We cut to a short cutscene from the animatronics who, lucky us, also speak. They talk about how familiar we look. Now, from hearing that, you'd probably think that this would be the same misunderstanding from the actual games, where they think we're William Afton because we're wearing the purple security guard suit. However, that wouldn't make sense because Mario is wearing his normal outfit, which the animatronics even acknowledge. So I have no idea where they got the crack they're snorting, but it was clearly laced. Freddy sends Bonnie to go get Mario from the office and give him a rim job. Mario decides to check the cameras and notices that Bonnie has left the stage. However, rather than using his head and checking the other cameras to see where he's at, Mario instead decides it would be a smarter idea if he went out of the office to go look for Bonnie himself. With that, Mario exits the office and begins exploring. Going near Pirate's Cove, Mario finds a key to the back room and sees a classic FNAF hallucination and sharts his pants. Back room key. Oh, what the fuck? With the back room key, he uses it to get into the back room. I don't really know what you expected to happen, but I guess it's a good thing I'm here to hold your hand and tell you these obvious things because you're too brainwashed. Here, maybe if I speak your language, you'll better understand me. Skibidi Riz Edge Mario goons on a Gaiac Goblin and gets rizzy with it. You understand me now? All right, let's keep moving. In the back room, Mario reads a newspaper clipping going over the missing children's case. It's not long, however, before Mario's ADHD kicks in and he gets bored and decides to leave. ADHD? More like ADHD's nuts, am I right?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
All right. Anyways, when Mario goes to leave, he hears Bonnie approaching, and we get possibly the funniest line delivery I've ever heard in my life.
You can't hide from your buddy Bonnie. I'm gonna hug you till you burst.
Wasn't that the most amazing thing you've ever heard? Yeah, I bet it was. Mario figures it'd probably be a good idea to hide, and I would probably agree with him. This is where you get the first of many decisions. When you make a choice, you could get wrong at your possible, and you could possible get killed. When you make a choice, the choice could wrong, and you could possible get killed. Where are you going to hide? You can choose either the closet, under the table, or hiding in the Freddy suit on the table. Now, you may be inclined to hide in the most retarded area on the planet, but I would encourage you to not do that. Hiding in the closet is the correct option, but I guess I'll humor you and I'll tell you what happens if you choose the other two options. Let's start with the suit. If you choose to hide in the suit, Bonnie actually won't find you and will leave, which might lead one to believe they made the right decision. But for those of you who are familiar with the FNAF lore, which I imagine is all of you, you'd know that getting into a suit is a pretty bad idea, because Mario ends up getting stuck and spring locked inside. How'd you get in? Reverse engineer. And you're dead. So good job, buddy. I don't even know why getting inside the suit was an option, given how scared Mario was of getting stuffed inside one. Choosing to hide under the table instead, you would not be surprised to find that Bonnie literally immediately sees you. Because, no shit, that should have been obvious. This is when he grabs you and we get to see another surprisingly good 3D animation, where Bonnie hits us in the dome with his guitar as hard as he can.
I found you.
Oh, damn! Oh, we're dead as fuck, boy. We're dead as fuck. You might think these animations were just found somewhere and imported into the game, but no. As far as I can tell, these animations are actually original to this game, which is actually pretty damn cool. Of course, the closet is the correct choice, so Mario hides in there like a normal person would. Yeah, being gay is pretty safe. Bonnie begins walking around the back room, and even though we hear his footsteps, we're given the choice to peek out. Of course, Mario chooses not to do that because he isn't stupid, and Bonnie eventually does leave, and Mario re-emerges from the closet. As Mario exits the closet, a rusty crowbar appears out of nowhere on the floor and Mario takes it. Heading back to Pirate's Cove, he uses it to open up a crate.
Come on, you stupid crowbar!
Inside the crate, he finds the kitchen key. Now, I think we all know where the kitchen is in the first FNAF game location. This game thought it would be funny to actually not put the kitchen there and instead put it right next to Pirate's Cove. Once in the kitchen, Mario finds a family photo. This is where I should mention the lore of this game sort of follows the original FNAF games, but also says, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want. This photo seems to show off the Afton family, and you already know Mario decides he needs to pocket that bitch. On the back of the picture is a handwritten note from William himself, naming a son called Nick and another called Kyle, spelled K-Y-E-L, which nobody has ever spelled that way. And no, this isn't just a typo. Kyle is spelled like this throughout the entire game. Boring lore garbage about Kyle enjoying scaring Nick, blah blah blah, bite of 83 bullshit, who cares, let's get to the interesting stuff. Finding nothing else, Mario heads back to the office to check the cameras and notices Foxy isn't in Pirate's Cove. Moments later, checking to see that Foxy is running down the halls. So, Mario does know how to check the other cameras, which means he really did just choose not to check the other cameras to find Bonnie earlier. Here we get a choice to either close the door or hide under the desk. Why the hell would you choose to hide under the desk? Well, it's to see a cool death animation. Oh shit! He slashed my shit up, bro. But obviously we close the door and keep that little bitch out. After almost dying a second time, Mario decides he should leave the office again and continue to look around. So maybe he is an idiot. We head back to Pirate's Cove and find that an arcade machine has randomly appeared. Since Mario is an actual god gamer, you already know he had to pour some hours into whatever game it is we're about to play. Is it Galaga? Pac-Man? Maybe some Donkey Kong Jr.? No, it's actually just a really shitty classic FNAF minigame. I should have figured. In this game, we play as the little baby bitch boy from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, except for some reason his name is Nick, which is just not correct. But whatever. Nick walks into his bedroom and gets absolutely reamed by his brother Kyle, which again, also not his name, but we're just gonna ignore that, I suppose. With the jump scare playing out, the game ends. Mario pretends to be sympathetic for a short moment before forgetting the kid ever existed and walks back to the office where the power then goes out. I could describe to you what happens next, but I think it'd be much funnier if I just let it play out.
Well, I guess that's all the rooms. But I never found the chicken.
Guess you're fucked. Oh shit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Thank you, Mario. Ooh. Ooh.
Welcome, one and all. It's time to have some fun.
No.
Let's have a party for you, my friend. Hey, don't run away. We want to play with you every night. Hey, buddy, don't run away. It's time to play our happiest day. Now you are trapped in nowhere to hide. No other places you can hide. Hey, just sit back and relax.
What?
You will be nothing but a bloody corpse.
Oh.
And then you'll be in our tomb.
What? It's 6 a.m.
Wasn't that just amazing? You're telling me Beyonce won the Grammy for her shitty country album when this masterpiece existed? God, nobody has any culture anymore. With that, night 1 concludes and we cut straight to night 2 with Mario returning for some reason. Which, by the way, I still really don't know why he's here in the first place. Mario gets back to the office and listens to another useless phone call. We're told the camera doesn't have any batteries and that there are some spares in the kitchen for some reason. And since Mario can't sit in one place for more than 13 seconds, he has to get out of his office and explore what he's already explored. Heading to Pirate's Cove, Mario stumbles right into Chica. Chica threatens him with a good time by offering to put her entire beak into his rectum, but Mario rudely declines and runs into the kitchen to hide. Again, we're given a few options. Let's go over the stupid ones first. If you choose to hide in the oven like a moron, I'm willing to bet you can guess what happens. Hide in the oven? That's an atrocious idea, sure.
I know you're in here. I'm gonna find you.
She almost British? That'd make me hate her more.
I think she's gone.
I don't think she is.
Hey, why won't the door open? Come on! What's that smell?
You, bro, it's you.
Oh no, the oven is on!
Oh shit, you're cooked.
Ah!
That's right, you roast like a pig. Now, if we decide instead to put on our thinking caps like a big boy, we choose to hide under the sink, which is actually not thinking cap behavior now that I think about it, but whatever, because that is the correct option to choose in this case, and I actually don't know if you can even hide anywhere else in the kitchen. After Chica leaves, Mario finds a battery, so he heads back to the office to pop those puppies in the camera, only to find that he needs more. Great. We notice a key to the supply closet on the desk, so we go there to check for more batteries. Lo and behold, we actually find some there, but we also find Bonnie sniffing around for some booty. Upon being groped, Bonnie drops another fire bar.
I found you. Time for some fun.
I love this game so much. Anyways, we fight Bonnie off with some cleaning supplies and book it back to the office to lock Bonnie out. Once Bonnie gives up, Mario checks the cameras and notices an arcade machine inside of the curtains in Pirate's Cove. So, like a moron, he decides to go check it out. We get to the arcade machine and hop into the next Mona Lisa of a minigame. In this minigame, we play as Kyle after the events of the Bite of 83, where instead of taking him to the hospital, they just leave his sorry ass in his room to die. Kyle walks down to the basement feeling a lot of guilt, as he should. This is where William comes downstairs to yell and belittle him. Once again, as he should. But then William goes sicko mode and slits his throat, stuffing his son into the Foxy suit that for some reason they have in their basement. Upon finishing the minigame, Mario notices Foxy is right behind him and a chase ensues. Now, you might see this chest and blade off to the side of the cove, and you might think to use them to your advantage. That's what I thought. But after a few attempts trying to interact with them, I noticed that they're just fucking decorations. Also, for some reason, the Mario avatar art while interacting with these objects is way different from the usual PNGs. Anyways, we run back to the office and lock Foxy out. Once he leaves, we decide it would be a phenomenal idea to exit the office once more and continue to look around. Mario just never learns, does he? In the party room, we find a note on the floor that wasn't there before. The note seems to be from another one of William's sons, who I can only imagine is Michael. Michael's worried about his missing brother and is a little sussy about how weird his father is acting. Going back to the office, we lose power again and again. I can't just describe what happens next. You have to see it yourself. Oh, dick. Bro, we closed the door for like 20 collective seconds. Please don't sing again. Please, dear God, don't. Okay, we're good. This is some bullshit like I wasn't supposed to actually come back to the office. I'll cream my pants, bro.
Aw, man. He didn't finish his song.
I actually really liked it.
I was enjoying that. He should have been on American Idol.
What?
Thanks.
Oh shit. Bro, is he about to get touched? This just might be the best game ever designed. Wasting no time, we jump right into night 3. Phone guy tells us Freddy has been squirting, literally, which like, fucking ew. He tells us it's our job to go to the back room and clean him up, so we head to the back room to do just that. Upon entering, we see Freddy posted up on the table and we're given the option to remove his head, hand, or torso. Choosing to remove his torso, we unsurprisingly find a child's corpse inside. Mario runs to the bathroom like a bitch to vomit, and upon trying to leave, quickly runs back into the stall to hide from Chica, who had just entered. We choose to try and punch Chica, but unfortunately for us, Chica is made out of metal, so she just kills us instead of giving us a blumpkin. Oh, you're dead. Oh, ow, bro, I don't want to eat it. Back the fuck up. Back up, bro. Just shit out my eyes and shit, bro. Fuck off. What you actually have to do is just trip her and run away. Doing exactly that, we run back to the office only to find an arcade machine inside. Okay, let's play it. In this minigame, we play as William as he wrangles up the kids and brutally murders them. William manages to frame his son Michael, but I don't really care. Pretty typical FNAF stuff if I'm being honest. But come on, do we really care about this backstory? Of course not. You're watching this video to learn about the tomfoolery in this game, so let's get back to that. As Mario leaves the office in an attempt to explore again, the power goes out, and Mario asks the most based question of all time. Oh shit,
Are
you're
you
fucked.
serious? Is this power supply running on AA batteries?
Okay, that's a good line. I like that one. Mario decides he's just gonna leave because this is bullshit. However, while trying to leave, Golden Freddy appears right in front of him and night 3 comes to a close. Night 4 has us playing as Luigi, who goes to the pizzeria in search of Mario. As Luigi goes to the office, he finds William fucking around with some crate. After a bit of back and forth, William tells Luigi he's seen Mario around. He says he'll help Luigi find Mario, but that he has something he needs to do first. Giving Luigi the task of keeping the animatronics distracted, He walks off, telling Luigi not to look in his crate. So the very first thing Luigi does is look in the crate because he's a little rebel and it is in fact not a phase. Inside is a note from Henry. It just says some stupid shit about not believing Michael is a killer. If you remember, William framed his son for the child murders, whatever, boring ass garbage. I want funny haha lines. Luigi goes to the back room and finds an arcade machine. You shouldn't be surprised by these things anymore. This minigame isn't even a game, it's just sitting there like a dunce while Henry talks to you. If you thought Henry's monologue from Pizzeria Simulator was good, you're not even ready for how top tier this monologue is. And you can listen to the whole thing in my playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. After completing this minigame, a Golden Freddy plush appears on the table of the back room and the power once again goes out and Luigi gets scared like a bitch. The plushie offers to help Luigi find his way around the building and to Mario. Luigi agrees and we play a sister location style game where the plushie tells us which directions to go in and when to stay still if there's an animatronic present. The only difference between sister location in this section, however, is that the plushie in this game talks about 400 times slower than Baby did.
What do I need to go to the kitchen for?
You will see. So first, go forward.
After wandering into the kitchen, Luigi meets the marionette. The marionette talks for about 8 hours straight and basically just says, murder bad, I murder murderers, Mario is near the bathroom, go get him. Oh, and also please free the children's souls. We do exactly that and find Mario in a dark room halfway inside of a suit. We solve a code puzzle that opens the suit, which actually makes no sense whatsoever, but whatever, let's just pretend like it does. The brothers walk out of the bathroom and catch Freddy making out with a toilet. No, I'm not joking. This is actually something that is in the game. I have no idea what's going on. I might be having a stroke. Anyways, the brothers go home, as they should. Before starting night 5, we're given the option to go back or not. We obviously choose not to, but psych fucker, that's the wrong option. Luigi's fucking dead. Oh yeah, and Mario's dead too. Watch Fredbear bite his fucking arm off like he's Pennywise and pull him into the fucking void and force him to stare at his brother's corpse until the end of time. Damn. That escalated quickly, didn't it? Yeah, let's just get back to the pizzeria instead and avoid all that. Upon arriving, the brothers hot-bottom to the office to make a game plan. Luigi tells Mario about the promise he made to the marionette, and Mario agrees to help. The brothers go to the kitchen and ask the marionette how they can save the kids' souls. The marionette tells them what they have to do is save each kid. Pretty basic concept.
Tee, go find shit they like, Lamau. Fetch quest time!
To save Chica, we have to go eat the pizza found in the party room and compliment how good it is. That makes the soul of Chica happy and she gives us a party box and a chest key. Using the chest key, we go to the bathroom and unlock a crate that has Bonnie's guitar inside. We take his guitar to him, saving his soul, and he gives us a party box and another chest key. I'm geeked out of my mind right now. Using the key Bonnie gave us, we unlock a crate in the bathrooms. That crate has a Freddy plush inside. We take the Freddy plush to Freddy in Pirate's Cove, saving his soul, and it gives us another party box. I'm straight up jorking it. Heading back to the kitchen, we see the marionette, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy having a party. They thank us for the help, but then Foxy shows up. He wants to kill us, but everyone else tells him not to. Golden Freddy soon shows up, which by the way is the brother who got chomped on if it wasn't obvious, and he forgives his brother for killing him. Leaving the party, we get ready to leave the pizzeria, but as we step into the party room, we see William walking towards the bathrooms and decide to follow him. This is the point in the game where we get to see Springlock failure, which is just always a good time, I can't lie.
Hide in my suit.
Kids, it's me, Spring Bonnie. It's your best pal.
Oh shit. Oh, he's fucking dead. Oh damn. After watching the gruesome death, the brothers kick rocks and go back home. And after that, we get the abandoned ending. Oh no. Endings. Let's go! After the credits roll, we're put into the point of view of William inside the Springtrap suit 30 years later. We're given the option to either end the pain or to wait out our time. Choosing End the Pain leads to a monologue from William longer than the Henry monologue we had earlier, which I was dead ass falling asleep during. You can see that in my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. 3 shills in one video? God damn, I'm a menace. Choosing this path leads to Springtrap burning down the establishment and ending his life, giving us the "we all burn" ending. If we instead choose to wait our time, we get a teaser for the next game in the series, Mario and Animatronic Horror Fazbear Fright Arc, which, spoiler alert, was never released. And with that, that's all Mario and Animatronic Horror has to offer. There is actually a second game called Mario and Animatronic Horror The Nightmare Begins, which is a direct sequel to this game, but it's only a demo that will almost certainly never be finished after the DMCA takedown request. So I won't be talking about it in this video, but you can watch my full playthrough of the demo on my second channel, Dxtr Black. That's 4 self-plugs in one video. What are you gonna do about it, stinker? But with that being said, I really enjoyed my time playing this game. It's definitely a bad game, but I think it has enough charm to make up for that. There's plenty of unintentionally funny moments in this game that make it hard to be forgotten, and I think people will continue to reminisce about this game for years to come. There's actually a remake of this game being developed, although I'm not sure if progress is still being made on it, but I'll be sure to keep you all posted.
The FNAF Fanverse Initiative, an idea Scott Cawthon had that was so good. The ability to bring fan game devs of your games into a closer community and allow them to sell merchandise based off of your branding is an amazingly generous and incredible opportunity. Having amazing games come out of it, such as Joy of Creation, Five Nights at Candy's, and Pop Goes, each of these creators are very passionate in what they do, and it shows. Another game to come out of the fanverse is One Night at Flumpty's 3, the third game in an incredibly designed series. But as something that has become all too familiar with FNAF fan games, as previously seen in games like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's and Dormitibus, the creators' morals and ethics of said games can be called into question. And sadly, the creator of this game, Jonachrome, had his turn on the chopping block that is the internet. Today, I'll be diving into Jonachrome's fantastic FNAF fan game series, all the goods, all the bads, and the disturbing accusations that had the light shined on them for all the public to see. Come with me as we explore the masterpiece of a FNAF game created by a deviant. One Night at Flumpty's 1 is what you'd expect from an old FNAF fan game. It's pretty much just a recreation of FNAF 1, but this game did it differently. Something I think a lot of people could agree with me on is that One Night at Flumpty's was ahead of its time. No other FNAF fan game was as well put together as Flumpty's was. You could argue Five Nights at Candy's was, but I'm not talking about candies right now, am I? As the title suggests, this game only features one night, but don't let that make you think it'll be a cakewalk. This one night is up there in difficulty with nights 5 and 6s from the normal FNAF games, and the difficulty increases by the hour instead of the day. Before I dive into gameplay, however, I want to talk about how amazing this game really looks. There's a lot to be said about Jonachrome, and I'll be diving more into his character at the end of the video. But Jonachrome is an artist, and a damn good one at that. Every single location in this game has so much character put into it, especially the office. Sure, there's a lot of dead things, but ignore what it is for a second and just admire how well done the 2D art in this game really is. Not many FNAF games go for a 2D approach, and I really wish more did because I think it looks amazing. Look at Playtime with Percy for another example. That game is 2D and it looks incredible. Then look at another completely flawless and probably the best FNAF game ever designed with zero competition, FNAF Shitpost, another game with 2D art that is fantastic, and I definitely have no bias over that game at all. This game did something no other was doing at the time, and it has aged like a fine wine. But now, let's jump butthole first into the gameplay. As mentioned already, this game only has one night, but dear God, it's a long one. Each hour of this night is a minute and a half, making the full night 9 minutes long, which is a crazy amount of time for a FNAF game where you need to have good nerve control. Just like FNAF 1, you have a power system. However, it's only affected by your doors, so feel free to camp the cameras as much as you'd like without the worry of draining your power, which I promise you'll be doing often, as this game is going to rail you in the asshole with encounters, and you'll have to stay on top of each character's location. Speaking of the characters, who are they? Nice segue, Dxtr. Thanks, Dxtr. The first guy we'll talk about is obviously Flumpty, the main attraction. Flumpty acts both as the Freddy of this game and the phone guy. At the beginning of the night, he tells you that his name is Flumpty, and that he is immune to the plot and can transcend space and time. He goes on to tell you that he kidnapped you and brought you here to be friends, and that he's coming after you. And coming after you, he is. Holy shit. This guy moves at the speed of sound. Flumpty moves randomly across cameras with no pattern, and he can teleport wherever and whenever he likes. Which means, if you're unlucky like me, he can get to your office in about 15 fucking seconds after the night starts. That's awesome. I'm in for a shitty time, aren't I? I'm covering 3 games in this video? Can I get that confirmed? Can I? Hey, can you confirm that? Uh-huh. Yeah? Yeah, alright, fuck me. 3 games in the first 15 seconds already has me stressing. I love this. If you're unable to see Flumpty on any of the cameras, that means one of 2 things. Either 1, he's on the broken camera, which I'll talk about later, or 2, he's at your left door. If he's at your left door, just close it and bada bing bada boom, he can't get in. But something you'll immediately notice is that, unlike FNAF 1, there's no windows, so you won't be able to tell when he's left by just sitting in your office. So you'll have to constantly be checking the cameras to see where he is. And when he moves as fast as he does, it can get overwhelming quickly. Let's talk about our next freak, birthday boy Blam, or just Blam as I'll be calling him. Blam works very similarly to Flumpty, except he attacks the right door, and he can't teleport like a dick. He follows a set path to your right door. Just close it, watch the cameras to see when he leaves. I just queefed. That's all you have to do about him. Oh, and in case you're curious, he's also Usain fucking Bolt and moves around the building at Mach 30, so that's just awesome. The Beaver is up next on the chopping block, and yes, his name is just the Beaver. I guess Jonachrome gave up on names here, but that's okay. What does he do? The Beaver acts as this game's Foxy, which it honestly didn't even need because of how often you're checking the cameras, but who really cares? The Beaver is sitting on the toilet taking a big fat patty-whacker double-decker dump and reading a newspaper with several tasteful stories in it. Next to the toilet, you'll see a roll of toilet paper. Throughout the night, the more you fail to watch the Beaver, the smaller the roll of toilet paper will get. When he runs out of toilet paper, the Beaver will sprint at your right door. Also, quick side note, the Beaver has knife feet. I don't know why, it's just something interesting to note. Who's up next, huh? Who do I have in my sights? Boom! Grunkfuck, Grunkfuss the Clown. Arguably one of the most popular characters to come out of this series. Grunkfuss is the first character I've mentioned who doesn't start at the beginning of the night. Instead, he starts at 4 a.m. I love this clown's mechanic. It's incredibly cool. I should mention that this game deliberately doesn't tell you how to play, and it doesn't describe how any of the characters work, leaving you to figure it out yourself. I love this idea, and it can lead to you feeling pretty smart when you find a small detail that can help you figure out how a character works, and Grunkfuss is a perfect example. Grunkfuss doesn't show up on your cameras. Instead, he is only ever visible inside of your office. As the night goes on, he will become more and more visible via a hole in the wall of your office. Well, that doesn't sound fair, I hear you say, and I usually agree. Until you put your thinking cap on and realize there's a hint in this game that perfectly explains how Grunkfuss works. On camera 5, there's a hole in the ground with 30 eyes inside. That number is very important. Every time you lift your camera up, you'll notice that one of the 30 eyes have disappeared, and every time you pull your camera down, Grunkfuss becomes more visible. If his eyes reach 0, when you pull the camera down, Grunkfuss will grunkfuck your shit up. I think this is such a cool little hint this game gives you to explain how he works. You could easily play through the whole game and never piece this together. This is something I really love when games do, and I'd really like to see more of it. But we've still got more to talk about, buddy. Let's move on to the Red Man. Red Man becomes active on hour 3 and starts on camera 3. You'll notice throughout the game up until this point that camera 3 has never been visible. That's because Red Man isn't technically visible on the cameras. Whichever camera he's on will be blacked out, which lets you know where he is. Red Man slowly moves from camera 3 to your left door where you'll be able to see him and close it. Just like the other door characters, you'll have to watch the camera for when he leaves. This brings me back to a point I made when talking about Flumpty. If Flumpty or Blam are on the same camera as Red Man, they too won't be visible, meaning there's a possibility you won't be able to find them, and a possibility that you'll shit your pants as I did when I couldn't find Flumpty because he was camping out with Red Man. So that was fun. The final character I have to briefly mention is Golden Flumpty, and I say briefly because there's not much to talk about. Sometimes you'll see him in your office, and when you do, you have to quickly pull up the cameras. If you don't, a dead sandwich is what you'll be turned into. In terms of characters, that's all One Night at Flumpty's has to offer. This game can be brutally hard. Obviously, like any FNAF game with enough practice, you'll be able to beat this game like clockwork. But hot damn, your first run through might very well be pretty difficult, especially considering you're not taught how to do a goddamn thing. But that's the first game. I'd personally say that it's fantastic. But what if I told you the second game is even better? Let's waste no time and jump into it. One Night at Flumpty's 2 is visually just as great as the first. Each setting looks fantastic. The game is significantly harder than the first, mainly because there's much more to focus on. To start, this game's phone call actually explains the rules, like a little bit. You're gonna have to do a lot of trial and error, but hey, it's still more than the first game gave us. The phone call this time around is a short song, which, that's just lovely, isn't it? The song explains if our lights are off, we're safe, and if they're not, we're about to get our cheeks spread apart so hard they rip off. So, why is the light so important? Well, let's do what we do best and go over each threat one by one. Let's start with Flumpty. As he was in the last game, he's pretty basic in terms of mechanics. Like in the first game, he teleports around wherever and whenever he pleases, so don't think for a goddamn second you're safe, because you're not. He's hungry for ass, and you got a whole lot of it. He a hungry bitch. If at any point you can't find him on the cameras, he will be right outside of your door in the hallway, and in a few seconds, will pop his head in and give you a blumpkin. Characters looking into your office actually brings up one of this game's central mechanics, which I think is really cool. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see an exposure meter. If at any point that meter fills all the way up, it's time for Flumpty and his friends to eat toast off your ass without the toast. When Flumpty peeks his head in, he will have his hands over his eyes to play a quick game of peekaboo with you. Be lucky that he's forgiving like this, because no other character from this point forward will be. While he has his eyes covered, your exposure meter will not increase. This gives you about half a second to turn the lights to your room off. After a few seconds, he will leave and you can turn your lights back on. But before we continue, let's go over what else happens when you turn your lights off. Let me quickly go over the camera and something I noticed about these games that I really like. Notice how in the first game, the camera didn't waste any power. Well, in this game it does, but it does it in a much more engaging way than it does in other FNAF games. Rather than just lowering an arbitrary number, you'll notice on the bottom of your screen you also have a laptop power meter, your laptop being your cameras. While your laptop is up, that meter will decrease, and when you put the laptop back down, the meter will slowly charge and increase again. I love this mechanic. It's still consequential to sit on your cameras, but it still keeps you in control. These games have such good balancing. I struggle to find other FNAF games to match in this department. If your laptop meter is to go completely empty, it will forcibly close and you'll have to wait for it to charge all the way back up before opening it. And when you do, you'll have to wait for the laptop to reboot. This may not seem like a very big deal, but when watching the cameras is as important as it is in this game, having to wait those 10 seconds can feel like an eternity. But back to turning the lights off. When the lights are turned off, you cannot access your cameras, and your laptop will not charge. This is one of those multiple ways this game keeps you from sitting alone in the dark. Something I think all of you chronic gooners should take note of. Blam Birthday Bitch Boy is next. He, like in the last game, works almost the same as Flumpty, moves around a set path, goes to your office, takes a sneak peek at your bits. However, this motherfucker don't play no games. No peekaboo for this guy. Once he's looking, your exposure meter starts to climb. This leads to you needing to watch the cameras and track his location, because even multiple small slivers over how godforsakenly long this night is will start to add up and lead to your asshole looking like a cave. Blam increases your meter faster than Flumpty does. Even though Flumpty is literally a chaos god of death, he increases your meter slower than any other character in this game. Something I think says a lot about his character. I'd say he's just a little harmless guy, but he also has canonically killed 1 billion birds with one stone. No, I'm not joking. Grunk Fuckass the Clown is also pretty similar to how he was in the first game. Psych! I fucking lied, bitch! Go look in the mirror at how fucking stupid your face is. You actually thought for a second I wasn't gonna lie straight to your stupid, dumb, ugly face, but I did. Anyways, Funko Pop the Clown can be seen crouched on camera too. Around 2 a.m. he will become active, with a hole appearing on your wall and a patience number appearing on camera too, and quickly decreasing. Once Grunkle Stan the Clown's patience wears thin, he'll pop his head through the hole in your wall and dramatically begin increasing your exposure meter. I'm talking Tyson Gay levels of quickness, and I say Tyson Gay instead of Usain Bolt because there's one character who increases it even faster. Eyesore is technically another character returning from the first. Remember the eyes that appeared in the hole on the floor that showed how many times you could flick up the camera before Fuckhead the Clown would ream you from behind? Yeah, that's him. That's Eyesore. Eyesore will start on camera 1, but won't be active until 4 a.m. Keep in mind, each hour in this game is long as fuck. He'll make his way to your office and peer in. When I tell you, the speed at which this bastard eviscerates your exposure meter is faster than the speed at which I bolt to the toilet after Indian food. I'm not lying. I suppose it makes sense given how many eyes he has, but like, damn, don't let this guy eye bang you for too long, no matter how sexually attracted you are to it. The last returning character we have to bring up is Redman. But Dxtr, what about the beaver? He fucking died. He fell into the toilet and fucking died. Are you happy? I didn't want to have to tell you, but you pulled my leg. Dick? Anyways, Redman. At random points during the night, warning pop-ups will appear on your laptop. If you're not in your laptop, it will be signified next to your camera button with a warning sign like the music box from FNAF 2. When you see this warning message, it will be accompanied with a loading bar. If the loading bar fully increases, you'll be as dead as disco. All you have to do is click cancel. If you lose to Redman in this game, I have no sympathy for you. You have to try and lose to this guy. What about new character? Well, there's only one, but he's pretty sick. The Owl. The Owl will appear on your cameras taking a fat-ass nap. Throughout the night, he will open his eyes and eventually leave the urinal he's perched on. When he does, you'll have to quickly check your vent cameras to see which vent he's about to assault you through. Once you know, you'll have to close the vent in your office in accordance with which side the Owl is attacking you from. If you don't, you guessed it, ask buffet and you're the main course. The vents don't waste any power, but only one of them can be closed at a time. So there's that. Additionally, you can close the vents even if your lights are off, which is incredibly generous and really just adds to the flow and pattern this game has. The final character I want to talk about is Golden Flumpty. So I guess I technically lied when I said Redman was the last recurring character, but fuck you. He works the same way as he did in the first game. Sometimes you'll see him in your office, either quickly turn the lights off or pull up your camera and he'll leave. Whoopity-doo, lore or something, I don't really know. That's all One Night at Flumpty's 2 has going for it. Well, it has a difficulty mode called Hard Boiled, which drastically increases the difficulty of the night, but it doesn't change any fundamental game mechanics, so I don't think it's worth diving into. One Night at Flumpty's 2 is such an enormous step up from the first, and that's saying a lot considering how amazing the first game really was. With the third game right around the corner, I can't wait to see what Jonachrome came up with. Oh, did I say right around the corner? Sorry, I meant 6 fucking years later. One Night at Flumpty's 3 released in 2021. Jonachrome made it clear he was never interested in making another Flumpty's game after 2, but the only reason he did is because Scott reached out to him for the Fanverse initiative. So what does 3 have to offer, and does it live up to the last 2? Flumpty's 3 is just like the last in one way. The art is phenomenal. Every single scene is fantastic and full of references. It makes the game very fun to look at. The office in this game is very frozen. You'll notice a thermometer in the corner of your screen. It's very important that you keep yourself warm and not let that meter reach empty, or you'll freeze to death like a bitch. You can go over to the furnace to have it slowly increase, and you'll need to be doing this throughout the night. How about the threats though? Returning from the last 2 games, we have Blam, who works very similarly to how he does in previous games. He'll move around the building in a set path and make it to your door, which in this game is really just a hallway. The cameras don't have power, so you should be camping them as often as you can. When Blam gets to your door is when we have to talk about a new mechanic, your camera. On the bottom of your screen, you'll notice a camera button with 20 uses. That's right, you can only use this camera 20 times throughout the night before it won't work anymore. So you better make sure you're keeping track of where every character is, because you don't want to waste any of these flashes. When Blam gets to your door, all you have to do is flash the hall and he'll run away. But be aware, there's no visual or auditory cue to signify that he's there, which is why watching the cameras is so important. Next, we've got another returning character, which by the way, there are no new characters, so I'll stop mentioning this. Anyways, the next character is Grunk Punk-Ass Slut Bitch the Clown. He does literally the exact same thing as Blam, but with one key difference. You do not want to flash him when he's in the hallway. The flash makes him scared and he'll pee his pants. That makes him embarrassed and he'll have to kill all the witnesses, and sadly for you, you're the only witness, so guess it's time to die. But being serious, while Grunkfuss is technically easier to deal with than Blam, he really makes you make sure you know where everyone is, because one false flash and it's game over. Next up on the chopping block, as I've said for the second time this video, is the Red Man. He becomes active at 1 a.m. and will make his way towards your furnace. On his furnace room camera, you'll see a warning telling you to stay away from your furnace. If you go to warm up by the furnace while this message is present, he'll eat your ass from the back, which I know some of you dirty freaks want, but for the rest of us normal people is something we'd prefer to prevent. I actually think this is a really nice mechanic. Something to keep you away from the only safe thing you have is super interesting. Knock knock, who's there? I don't really know, I don't usually answer my door, but we're talking about the eyesore next. He becomes active at 4 a.m. and actually can't be seen on the cameras. So how are you supposed to defend yourself? Well, lucky for you, you can actually see him in your hallway. Unlike the other characters, however, you'll actually have to flash eyesore twice to make him go away. And because your camera has a cooldown, this can lead to a deadly combo with Grunkussy. You'll need to make absolutely sure he's not in the hall when you go to flash eyesore. What about the owl? I hear you asking. Well, a better question would be, what about the beaver? Better yet, how about both of them, because they're both here in this game merged together as one in the form of the bee vowel. Talk about a freak of nature, am I right? Chat, if I ever end up looking like this freak, please pull the plug, I won't be mad. Anyways, the bee vowel starts at 2 a.m. and will appear on camera 3 in the hot tub. He will gradually climb out of the tub and crawl into your vent. This brings up the other side of your office where you can actually see the vent. This vent functions the exact same way the other door does. When you know the bee vowel is in the vent, all you have to do is flash him with your camera and he'll go away. But this does lead to a split path that you'll have to watch just as much as the door path, which can become stressful as the night progresses. Finally, we have to talk about Golden Flumpty, who is just as uneventful as he was in the last two games. When you see him on your cameras, you can't pull down the camera unless you switch to another camera he isn't on. Otherwise, he kills you. And that's all the threats. Survive until 6 a.m. and the final game in the Flumpty's franchise is over. In all honesty, I think this game isn't nearly as good as Flumpty's 2. I think that might be because of the fact that Jonachrome... Huh? What? What about Flumpty? I didn't talk about him? Oh, yeah, about that. Flumpty is pretty pissed that you survived as long as you should have, and is even more pissed at his friends for not being able to kill you. Being a god, Flumpty sets the time back to 12 a.m., murders all of his friends, and comes to get you himself. I lied. We're not even close to being done. Let's talk about this game's second night, Flumpty Night. You'll immediately notice some new stuff, but I'll talk about them as they become important. In this night, after killing all his friends, Flumpty transcends space and time and is able to morph his body and appear in multiple places at a time. He replaces all of his friends and takes a majority of the mechanics of the night. Let's go over each Flumpty clone together. It can get a bit confusing, and this night is a clusterfuck, but I'll hold your hand and explain everything as best I can. And let me tell you, my palms are clammy. The first clone to talk about is Another Flumpty. Yes, his name is literally, quote, Another Flumpty, end quote. This guy is the exact same as Birthday Boy Blam. Fireside Flumpty replaces the Red Man. Spider Flumpty, aka fucking animated Flumpty, again, that is literally his name, replaces the B vowel. But something cool I want to mention about Spider Flumpty is that he is gorgeously animated. Like, look at his animation when he crawls through the vent. It's gorgeous. Now we need to talk about the Flumpty clones that have their own mechanic in this game. Except not really. All-Seeing Eye Flumpty acts exactly like Grunkfuck does in Flumpty's 2. On camera 6, he'll have a patience timer, and when it reaches 0, he'll appear in your office through a hole in your wall. Also, you'll notice on this night that an exposure meter literally slides in from the side of the screen during the night, and All-Seeing Eye Flumpty will increase it. You get rid of him by flashing your camera at him. This night is about to get a lot more insane, I promise. Flumpty.exe replaces what the Red Man does from Flumpty's 2. Occasionally, a program will appear on your camera, and if you don't cancel it in time, then it's time for an ass-eating buffet. Shadow Flumpty works just how Grunkinky does in Flumpty's 1. The more you lower your camera, the further and further through positions he gets in your office. Lower it too many times, and he's gonna go spelunking in your asshole. I'm talking pounding ass pickles. Door Flumpty is where the 2 extra doors on your office come into play. He'll appear on either camera 8A or camera 8B. You can stop him by turning on your laser doors to keep him out. Also, you'll notice you have door power at the top of your screen, so you know, just something else you'll need to keep track of. Are you stressed yet? We're not done yet. While on your camera, sometimes you'll notice something really cool. Flumpty will fucking move the cameras 8A and 8B around to change which door that door Flumpty attacks from. The first time I saw this while playing, I was freaking out. It's honestly such a cool idea that I've never seen done before. Finally, we have to talk about Virtual Boy Flumpty. Once 3 AM hits, if you look at your camera, you'll see a new section of the map that was never there before slowly lower from the top of the screen and add 2 new cameras to the game for you to keep track of. I want you to keep in mind, all the other bullshit I've already mentioned is still happening right now. Virtual Boy Flumpty will make his way to camera 10, which you'll see has a door power switch. If you let Virtual Boy Flumpty get into this room, he will flip the switch, permanently turning off the laser doors you use to keep door Flumpty out. So how do you stop Virtual Boy Flumpty? Well, this is really awesome. You have to close another set of doors on the fucking cameras. I swear to God I'm smoking crack because this is insane. There is actually so much shit going on this night. It's so much fun to play once you get into a groove. This is something that Jonachrome does that not many other FNAF creators can replicate. Although all of this is happening at the same time, you will almost never feel like completing it is based on luck. Everything flows together so smoothly, it's just super fun to play. Midway through 4 AM, a new song will start playing and the true boss fight begins. This final stretch is so much fun. When the song starts playing, you'll notice every single bit of your UI start to change to completely random intervals constantly. However, all of the systems still work. Sure, you can't visually see where your thermometer is at, but it's still decreasing and you will still have to manage it. Flumpty sings a little song, and if you manage to get to 6 AM, the game truly ends. We get one last final cutscene where Flumpty finally lets us leave, and we see what the world has become while we've been trapped with him. Nothing but a wasteland, and we begin to question if escaping was even worth it at all. And the One Night at Flumpty's universe comes to a close. One Night at Flumpty's was one of the earliest FNAF fan games made, and I personally think it still holds up as one of the best in the world. Each game got better than the last, which is something that sadly doesn't happen with most series. I'm very glad that Jonachrome had such good attention to detail to make sure that the games never got stale. As much as I'd love to see more games from the Flumpty's franchise, I think it's best that 3 remains the final game, and I think Jonachrome thinks that way too. Flumpty's 3 finally showed us the extent of Flumpty's power with an amazing boss battle at the end, and he even honored his word by letting you leave once you beat him. This is such an incredible ending to such an incredible game, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think One Night at Flumpty's is as close to perfection as a FNAF game can be, and it truly shows. But of course, with the good comes the bad, and it's time to talk about Jonachrome himself and the accusations that were thrown at him. 8 days after the release of One Night at Flumpty's 3, a user on Twitter posted a twit longer stating the following. Hello, my name is unimportant in this matter and I'd rather stay anonymous. I love this community. I absolutely have been a part of the FNAF fandom ever since 2014. The point of this is to try to make it safer for everyone and minors. Don't go attacking Scott over this. He had absolutely no way of knowing who Jonachrome really is. I also strongly insist that minors stay within their age groups when meeting friends in the same fandom online, whether artists or not. With that said, this is my testimony coming clean about Jonachrome. After seeing the release of One Night at Flumpty's 3 and how Jonachrome has insisted on staying within the community and fanverse, I cannot stand by and allow him to continue being within this fandom. And I really should have come forward much earlier when I initially found out. I was involved with plenty of his group DMs from 2016 to 2018. A girl by the name of Emily was 13 to 14 at the time, and he came all out about his relationship with her. Within group DMs we've had, Jonachrome was already in his 20s. Charges cannot be pressed as Emily would need to do it herself as she would now be 19. I have evidence to prove this with links to all of it, and witness statements, and messages from Jonachrome himself. This man should not be praised at all, and I hope this helps people see him for what he really is, and why he should be removed altogether from any community he has a high stance in. It can be gathered that Jonachrome stated he was dating this girl, but was not going to do anything sexual until she was of legal age, which some would constitute as grooming. In my personal opinion, none of that is as damning as John's own messages. In one message, he flat out admits his plan to marry Emily, who, keep in mind, is a child. Jonachrome also mentioned how they'd been dating for 2.5 years, and considering how she had her date of birth set at 2002, This would have made her about 14 years old when they started dating. It's also very clear that Jonachrome knew that what he was doing was wrong, as in 2017 he was very concerned about the net neutrality laws, which he thought would cause conflict with his being able to communicate with her. The twitlonger wasn't up for long when Jonachrome responded. The title of his response stated that both he and Emily knew that this would happen at one time or another. His response reads, "Well, if my statement means anything, here it goes. I'm not a child groomer and I'm not a pedophile. Plain and simple. I wouldn't dream of manipulating or abusing or exploiting anyone, much less minors. And the twitlonger has no evidence to suggest that I did. It comes across as spiteful to me more than it comes across as a post made out of legitimate concern for anyone's safety. That said, I can't deny that the screenshots are real. When Emily and I met, dating wasn't even a consideration for obvious reason. We were friends who got along really well. My first relationship was with someone my age, which only lasted a few months because we didn't communicate very well. That was when I started questioning what was really important in a relationship and what actually makes two people compatible. I realized that Emily and I share the same religious beliefs, we have similar sense of humor, there's a lot of overlap in our interests and hobbies, and we could both comfortably talk about a lot of things. We both felt like maybe we were meant to be together and were just born at the wrong times. We started talking, making it clear right away that there would be nothing sexual about our conversations and that we wouldn't meet in person until she was at least 18. We enjoyed each other's company, just talking and hanging out. Occasionally we'd watch movies together. For a long time, I didn't see the harm in it. I always put her needs before my own, always claiming to do what was best for her, and in a way, I thought I was saving her from experiencing the same heartbreak I did. This year, 2021, would have been the year we met in person, with her age at 19. But this was also when I learned she was starting to have doubts about our relationship. She knew I didn't mean any harm, while also saying I had effectively prevented her from exploring other romantic options by approaching her when I did. I'd like to say I knew better, but until that moment, I kinda didn't. I'd thought I'd done everything right, and I gambled on the assumption that if we were meant to be together, it wouldn't have mattered in several more years. But the reality is, I didn't give her enough time to grow, and I shouldn't have even entertained the idea. It's a mistake I've made the one time, and I'll never make it again for as long as I live. For anyone who wishes to hear the victim side of the story, Emily and I are on good terms, and she's planning on making her own response to this as soon as she can. Regardless, I was wrong for pursuing a relationship with her. I can't change the past, but I hope that my story can at least serve as an example for others. Please, whether you're an adult or a minor, don't make the same mistake I did. You might have the best intentions and the utmost confidence in a potential relationship with someone out of your age range, and you might not see any red flags, but that's no excuse. It's not worth it. Minors should be especially careful in an online space because there are people out there who want to take advantage of it. This could have ended a lot worse. Stay safe. Later after that, Emily responded herself, and her response reads, "Jonachrome is not guiltless in this. As I'm an adult now, I'm completely aware of that. But he is genuinely a kind-hearted person who just did something to himself that he shouldn't have. As a minor at the time, of course I was super dumb and naive, but as an adult, Jonachrome was 100% responsible for his action. He has apologized to me several times, and I truly still believe he's a good person. We even talk on good terms even though we're separate. But he has recognized that he fucked up. So please, as the victim, leave the man alone. Let me clarify. He has never tried to solicit anything from me. He has never asked me to do anything I didn't want to. It was not good to consider us having a romantic relationship when I was very explicitly not old enough. But keep in mind, we've always been friends. Jonachrome is easygoing, fun to talk to. We used to watch movies together and talk about what we liked about them. We used to draw cute pictures for each other. We used to talk about the games we'd like. Morally, it was wrong to have romance between us, but it was innocent too. To say that it was grooming is where it becomes gray, because I feel like it was definitely unintentional somehow. That sounds like I'm confused, but I know why that is. If he had malice intent, he would have been much more persistent than he was. But no, he's not dangerous whatsoever. If Jonachrome attempts something like this again, yeah, I don't think I could trust him. He has done something awful, but that doesn't mean he himself is awful. What matters is how he moves on. If he's learned from this to know not to go any further from what he did to me. I was the one who confronted him about how a relationship would cause too many problems as an adult, and that's why I broke ties. Over those 6 years, I can say confidently that I care about the man's well-being. I don't want him to suffer. Let me say this again. Legally, he has not committed any crime. He's shown no clear intent to harm me, nor has he sent any harmful content to a minor. He is innocent in that respect, but that doesn't mean I'm excusing it. I'm just saying I, the victim, am okay. I'm also aware that no sexual stuff until legal is wrong and gross, because that does constitute as grooming. But there was still genuinely a relationship between us. Not romantically, but a friendship that we had. I can confidently say John Achrome was a good friend. Yes, there was romance. It wasn't good by any means. He and I both knew there was something wrong with it, but I tried to pretend that it wasn't there. But please do not harass him. I can tell he's doing better because he talked to me before this mess got out. As for the person who exposed John Achrome, I do not wish to be involved in this. I do not care about this anymore. I've moved on and so has he. If I am his only victim, then don't make any more accusation. I know this situation better than anyone. To everyone, don't say, I'm sorry this happened to you, because John Achrome is already sorry, and to me, that's enough. I don't need your sympathy. Spread my response so people know what actually happened. As an adult, I'm not pressing any charges against John Achrome, and I truly hope he's living his best life. He's been seeking therapy, and I do hope he'll make it out alive in this. His multiple apologies to me are proof of his self-improvement. I'm hoping this is enough. I do not want to make another statement, and frankly, I'm pissed that it even came out because he's hopefully not going to do this again, and I'm not traumatized from it. If he does it again, go ahead, talk about it. Otherwise, leave us alone. John Achrome eventually made one more statement, which is way too long for me to cover in this video, but he basically says that he didn't groom Emily, because grooming requires sexual intent, which he claims he never had while in the relationship. John had been gone for years, but has actually, as of writing this, released a video on his gaming channel 3 weeks ago. He says he's been in therapy and is looking forward to working on more projects. As far as I'm aware, we still haven't heard from Emily or the anonymous person who brought this to light, but everyone has seemed to move on and they have accepted their faults and took accountability. While what John Achrome did was wrong, no doubt about it, I truly think he's good at heart. I and many others all hope that this was a one-time thing, and I hope that this was a very clear wake-up call to never do something like this again, and it appears that that is the case. I and many others are excited to see what John Achrome has in store for us, even if it has nothing to do with the One Night at Flumpty's series. One Night at Flumpty's is truly an amazing game, made by someone with a regrettable past. Even if you choose to not follow John Achrome anymore, these games are a perfect example of being able to separate the art from the artist, and recognize that John Achrome made some terrible decisions, but at the end of the day, the work he produced is something that will likely never be able to be replicated again. But that's all I have to say about One Night at Flumpty's. Let me know what you think about these games in the comments below.